My people, today marks almost 52 days since Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and President Ruto took power in Kenya. Now, in their first 1 week of leadership, President Ruto lifted the ban on GMOs that was already enforced by the leadership of President Mwai Kibaki. He lifted it without any form of research or without any form of reports that would show that the risk or the concerns that the government of President Kibaki had been addressed. Now, immediately that ban was lifted or was announced to have been lifted by the president, by President Ruto, it only took Azimio a short while to come out and say something about lifting that ban and the consequences of allowing GMO into the country. But the church that says it cares so much about us as Kenyans kept quiet, said totally nothing until 40 days later, over 40 days later, that now today they decided to come out, not today, yesterday, they decided to come out and read a statement to the people of Kenya while speaking to the government, reading Bible verses, telling the government how wrong it is to lift a GMO ban without public participation. My people, I only have a few questions. Now, since that ban was lifted, it's been a while. If anyone wanted to bring GMO seeds into Kenya, would that person not have brought those seeds? What prevents that person from bringing the seeds? And what makes us think probably those seeds have not been planted, given that there are some places where the rains have already started? And I just leave the answer to your imagination. Now, for the church to come out to condemn the government, it is just hypocritical, it is unnecessary. It is just like those Pharisees that Jesus was telling them to be quiet in the Bible. The Pharisees that Jesus picked out of the many people and condemned. It is unnecessary. I personally think my opinion on why the church, it has taken the church so long, I would say I have some few reasons that I can give on that regard. And I am just thinking that because we saw from one of the media houses, the mainstream media, there was an article that stated that there was a memorandum of understanding between the Kenya Kwanza government and the church, that they were going to get some promises that were made, that they had agreed on, that when they support the government, and they actually supported this government, they really supported the government, and we saw how the president used them during the inauguration, during also prayers in State House, until everybody in the country complained. Nowadays, we don't see those kind of things anymore. I think to some extent, they have also realized it is not necessary, or maybe they got disappointed because they did not get their promises. So what I'm saying is that maybe it took them a while to comment anything on the church because they were waiting to see whether their interests or the promises that the government, Kenya Kwanza government, had made to them would be fulfilled. And maybe because we know all the cabinet positions have already been set, we saw people being appointed and everything like that. We've not seen anything to do with the church. Maybe now they are disappointed and they are coming out to talk against the government. Much later when they have realized that those promises that they were told they would be given, nothing will come out of it. Now they have realized they can only speak against the government by telling the government that it is wrong that you lift this ban you shouldn't have lifted it. But it is too late for that. You know, one thing I usually say, as Kenyans, there's one thing that we should never forget. The church is part of the problem of the poor leadership that we have as a country. There was no one reason why the church should be involved in politics in the first place. And if by any chance, what we are seeing now, that people are talking about, the so-called lifetime presidency or the removal of the term limit, the church would definitely be part of that problem, you know? Because it's not as if the top leadership of the church does not understand what happens in government. They understand everything and they know much more than the common mwananchi knows, because they dine and they mix with those people there at the top. At any particular point in time, the church is always consulted. We've been in a position to witness the church receive money, even when they are told this money is part of corruption. They never fold their hands. They collect it. So this is why I'm saying, for the church to come out and start speaking about GMOs, it is too late for that. It is unnecessary. And the kind of mind game that the church is also trying to play with the poor Kenyans can already. Now, it's not so many people that want to hear the church being called out. But let me tell you one thing. It is time we called the church out, because it has failed the society.